first? Ladies. Who's first? Ladies. Who's first? Ladies. What time is it? It's time for the ladies. It's the ladies first Chit-Chat crew. It's time for the ladies. It's the ladies first Chit-Chat crew. L-A-D-I-E-S, L-A-D-I-E-S, and we're up first. L-A-D-I-E-S, L-A-D-I-E-S, and we're up first. Speak what you want, unbossed. Speak what you want, unbossed. Speak what you want, unbossed. And we're up first. Unapologetically great. Unapologetically great. Unapologetically great. And we're up first. Yes, ladies. That's dope. Yes, ladies. That's dope. Yes, ladies. That's dope. And we're up first. It's time for the ladies. It's the ladies first Chit-Chat crew. Time for the ladies. It's the ladies first Chit-Chat crew. One time for the ladies in the house. Two time make the people scream and shout. Lachelle, Chandra, Crystal with Nikki on boss and Nikki. L-A-D-I-E-S, and we're up first. L-A-D-I-E-S, L-A-D-I-E-S, and we're up first. One time for the ladies in the house. Two times make the people scream and shout. Lachelle, Chandra, Crystal, and Nikki on Boston. Nikki, what's up, y'all?
Hello.
Hello. I don't know. Every time
morning.
I could be like running to get some coffee, and every time I hear Crystal go, one time with the ladies in the house, I'm like, And Lachelle's like, y'all should see Shelly back there. She's like,
I partied the whole way through.
oh, speaking of Crystal, what's up, Crystal?
Yeah. Hey, party people.
Hello. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ladies First Chit-Chat crew, where we honor the voice of the everyday woman. Y'all are looking beautiful in your blue today, ladies.
Thank you. Yeah.
We I do want to say this. I know we have a lot of new people coming to watch us today, and we are so excited that you are here. Just to let you know, our mission is we provide a space for women and all people to evaluate where they stand, and together, collectively, we inspire each other to take action. And that's just what we did last night. We had ladies' night last night, y'all.
Good morning, Mimi.
Maybe here. Yes, maybe. Maybe it's here. We had ladies' night last night, and y'all, I woke up this morning smiling about ladies' night last night.
It was fantastic.
Just our whole theme, dope things in 2023, all about me. And we want to continue all of that as we go into 2023 and as we go into today. Shani, how you doing, baby? You checking in, just checking in. You good? Mama too, you good?
Oh, that face.
Two babies under 4. You good?
Y'all,
Just trying to keep up.
sometimes when you see me, you don't see me. Okay. Sometimes my body is here, but I am not. Okay. But I'm doing okay. I am extremely tired. Um, you guys, the ladies know, but I've embarked on a new um another pivot. Y'all know I love a good pivot. I embarked on a pivot that is excellent in all its form, but it is extremely taxing in the beginning stages of it. I'll share more later once I'm really up and flowing. But um, that's all I got for you.
I checked on you. I don't know. My spirit was like, let me check on Mashani this morning. Check on
All right.
Shani.
If I go like this, it's because I'm trying.
You sleep with your eyes open.
Eyes open.
Wide
You sleep.
open and all the way sleep.
We got you.
Well, we're gonna wake up this morning because I'm so excited about our topic today. All since we started the show, we've talked about putting ourselves first, and really tapped into our personal, our collective sisterhood. And one thing that I definitely am learning myself, a part of the sisterhood, a part of what I want to be in 2023. I not only am I tapping into myself and my sisters, I want to make sure I am tapping into my brothers, my men. Today's show, we told all of our ladies, grab your favorite men in your life, whether it's your partner, your brother, your boss, your employee, grab, because we are in for a great show today. Our guest is one of my dearest and best friends. I've known him since I was 12. We were 11 and 12. We grew up in Richmond, Virginia together. Shani and Crystal, you'll get a kick out of this. When we were in middle school, we were both altos. We sang the same part, and he was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and we would battle who could sing the loudest. And then as we got older, he went down to the tenor baritone, and I went up to the soprano. And I'm gonna tell a little story really quickly. He was also my high school boyfriend. He was my boyfriend, and I was a junior and senior in high school.
I don't think I knew this.
Yes, Chris was my boy. He and I were best friends, and then he became my boyfriend in high school. He was my prom date, my homecoming date, and then
You pulled out a prom picture. I was gonna say, please.
I keep this. It's on my phone.
What kind of producer are you?
I keep this close.
I'm not even looking at her no more, Shani. Like,
I
really?
showed it.
It's just because it's her. Now, if it was one of us, she would have digged and pounded
She
and
would have found it.
pasted people together to make sure she had a picture.
All of it.
I almost did. I showed it to Rebecca the other day, and I almost did, but I was like, maybe I'll pull it out later. But no, he was my prom date, my homecoming date.
Have it by the end of the show. Rebecca, send it to her.
Load it up.
And then I told him I was gonna say that, and then he broke my heart right before I went to college. He broke my heart, and then I told him I was gonna say this, but that's all right. It's all right. Other people swooped in. It's okay. No, but after that, we are like brother and sister. I always said I feel like we were in the womb together as twins in another life, and we have gone through triumphs and in-betweens and tragedy together. And I say all this to say, as one of my best friends, he and I started talking. And I'm going to bring him on in a minute. And I just want to tell you, we started talking. And he said something to me one day. He said, I need you to listen. And it shook my core. And he was talking to me. He says, Nikki, I need you to listen. And I cut it. I was like, I listen. He goes, you just cut me off. You're not listening. And it caught my attention. It shook me to my core because I was not listening to my brother and listening to what he needed. And he's always there listening to what I need. So he has a podcast that's coming out and it's dropping on Thursday. And it's called What Men Want. And I want to play his little video before I bring him in. It's not a little, I want to play this video before I bring him in.
I was about to say, why the video little though?
Not a little. It's not a little video.
That is such a bad habit. We gonna go play this little video.
Black woman habit.
There it is. Hold on.
Really want.
Hold on, let me rewind. There we go. We there? Is it playing?
Everybody, I got a question for you. What do men really want? Okay. I know the first few answers that came to your mind, but take a second and really examine the question on a deeper level. What do the men in your life really want? All you ladies out there, have you been having conversations with other women asking that very same question? To my fellas, are you in a position where you knew exactly what you wanted for your life 20 years ago, and now you're in a position where you just really don't know? That's what I thought. That's why I created this podcast. It's called What Men Want. And I, your host, Christopher Morgan, will be examining that very question through interviews and discussions, even call-ins, where we get to hear exactly what men today are looking for in their lives. Not just the physical, not just the emotional, but our entire package, what it is to really be a man and what it is to continue that and teach it to the next generation. Our podcast will examine just those things, and we hope you tune in very soon. Stay tuned for details. Again, I'm Christopher Morgan. I'll be your host, and we'll examine what men want.
What men want. Without further ado, I want to bring one of my best friends to the screen, Mr. Christopher L. Morgan. What's up?
Hey. Oh, we can't hear you.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Oh no.
Oh no.
We just had him.
We just had him.
We just talked to him. What happened?
Let's talk to him. What happened?
He's checking. He's checking with his IT people.
Checking with your tech.
Yeah,
Nope, it's the devil.
gets on my nerves.
It's the devil.
We just did a check and we were good.
Take him out and bring him back in. Maybe that'll help. We just talked to him. He sounds great.
No, you sound great.
You sound good.
Did he have his earphones in when he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had them in. Let's try again.
All right, let's see.
You there, Chris?
No, he's talking.
That's so strange.
Technology.
We just did a sound check.
Maybe log off.
No. Yeah, he's gonna log on.
Log on and come back. We'll bring you back in.
I hear background. I hear background, but I couldn't hear.
Yeah, that's strange. But is his intro? I mean, I'm intrigued. I can't wait.
Me too. I was like, first of all, that smile alone was like
radio, because he has a real radio voice.
Yeah, I do have to let me just tell you, as Chris gets his stuff together, Chris is also a performer. He's a director. He's a producer, and just a great.
It seems like he has that presence.
Let me try him again. We there? Can you hear? It's not working.
I'm so confused.
I don't know what happened.
The headphones out?
Disconnect all of your external things and just use the computer mic. That's what you're doing.
Chris, try to take your earphones out. I just gotta just like Shani said, take your
he can't take them out. I'm reading lips now.
Yeah.
I know, me too. There we go.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
Hey,
what was that?
All right. You know what's funny? The devil is a liar first. Let me just say that the devil is a liar. So I'm running all my system here. You know, I got the whole podcast system, the mic, everything. And I guess evidently it didn't want to set up. Now, just to let you guys know at home, Nikki and I think we had Michelle and Nikki unbossed. We were all here chatting. Everything was great. Ain't nothing
what men want is for their equipment to work.
Now, the point is the message we're trying to get out there. The devil doesn't want
that. But he can't. He can't win because we ahead of him. So there you go.
That's right, ladies. I've been waiting for this for so long. Michelle, Chandra, Crystal, Nikki, and my girl. It is so good to see y'all.
Yes, good to see you.
Let's get into it.
Please.
let's get into it. So, Chris, I was sharing with them one of the reasons this podcast came up. You and I were having a conversation, and as good friends do, they call you on your shit, you know. And he called, like, literally, he says, "Nikki, you're not listening." And I told you, I cut him off. I was like, "I'm listening," blah blah. He says, Look what you just did. You just cut me off and you're not listening." And it was about, we were talking about him and things that were going on with him. And here I am priding myself on being a good friend to my friend like he is to me. And I was not listening. And that's when he started to say, "See, Nikki, this is the problem sometimes, because we're not listening to each other." And then ironically, in the same afternoon, I had another friend who was a guy tell me the same thing. I said, "Well, is it me?" It must be me.
And they were like, yes.
I was like, it must be me. And so that's when Chris started sharing with me some things. And he said today that he wanted to come on to talk about perspective versus opinion. Let's get into it, Chris. I'm giving you the mic.
I love it. Nikki, I love you so much. You have already exposed way too much. Everybody was supposed to know about all the history they can dig, and I'm glad those pictures did not pop up. You don't need to see my 1990s fashion. You really don't. It might set you off on how you feel about me. Mm-hmm. Oh, but we have to start with Nikki's clear-cut introduction of me. Everyone must know I'm not your Dr. Phil. I am not coming at you from that perspective of, this is the man that I lay on the couch and he sits in the chair with the notepad and talks to you. I'm nobody's therapist. I am just a representative of the people you're trying to connect with. And I feel like I'm one of those people that is communicative. I'm one of those men that does talk. And I've talked to a lot of my guy friends. And believe it or not, we do talk. We do have real conversations sometimes. Most of the time when it involves something else, we don't. But there are those moments where we seek each other out and we have real in-depth conversations about where we are and what we want out of our relationships today. And so much of it is based on universality. So much of it is based on my firm Christianity, which is my root, my foundation and everything. But a lot of it is just common sense, but common sense from two sides of a coin. And it's hard for one side of the coin to see the other, and even harder for one side of the coin to see what that other side of the coin sees. So I started thinking about some of the ways that we really end up communicating with one another. And when Nikki and I had that conversation, and she was very much so, I'll put it honest, she was heated. There was a lot of emotion coming out. And, we get to that point, men, women, everybody. We get to that point where we're pouring out our souls. In those moments, it's very difficult to listen. It's very difficult to have your ears open because there's so much you want to express. There's so much you're trying to say. And really, if you think about what you're trying to say, it's rooted in your opinion. It's rooted in how things are making you feel. And you need to express that in that moment. I'm feeling like this, I need to say this. I'm feeling like this, I need to say this. That's the quickest way to close your ears, because your opinion is so connected to your emotion that one is going to trigger the other. So if you state your opinion, your emotion is behind it. Like, that's right, that's how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. And if you state your emotion, your opinion backs it up with, well, I think that's correct. That's exactly what's happening. If we can step out of that in our communication and get to our perspective, we kind of shed all of that emptiness and misdirection and chaos and confusion, and we can get to really what it is we're trying to say. And better yet, we can hear what the other person is trying to say. But it's about perspective versus opinion. Opinion can be argued. We could have 6 different opinions right now on this panel on the same topic. We could discuss the color red, and everybody's got an opinion on the color red. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong, but we can argue until we're blue in the face. If you tell me your perspective on the color red, I have nothing to argue. I just have more to learn. I have more to glean from what you're saying to me. It takes me out of the situation. It takes you in your defensiveness or offensiveness out of the situation, and it puts it squarely on what you're trying to say. It cuts through the chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first aspect that really brought about the idea of the podcast. It comes from the idea and the understanding of knowing that we're suffering right now, men and women, just in trying to connect to one another. That's crazy. It's not like we speak a different language. It's not like we live in a different time. We're facing the same existential situations that everyone is. But we see them so drastically different that we lose the idea that expressing how you see it is vitally important.
Do you feel that men, because you, like you said, you talk to the fellas.
Yeah.
And obviously you have great connections with women as well. So do you feel that men lean towards perspective or opinion in conversation more, and women lean towards perspective over opinion, or opinion over
emotion, maybe?
I feel like right now it just gets blurred.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like men come from a very specific standpoint of no frills. I want this information done, and I want you to hear this, and I want to hear this from you. And if you don't lean in somewhat into how the person is feeling, then you can miss it all. Perspective really comes about your expression. In your expression, it allows you to keep from clogging up your ears, but you still have to be open to what the other person is giving. If the other person still has some emotion, it's still important. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. It's interesting. The thing that you just said, I think that when we are communicating as humans, but certainly between men and women, I actually think that everyone wants their feelings to be understood more than their point.
Yeah.
Right? It's like we want, because when someone can acknowledge that they recognize how you're feeling, right? Even if they don't agree or if they don't feel it themselves, they can recognize your emotion around a particular subject. That feels like you're being seen,
yes.
Right? But if I get your point, but I don't understand why you're being so dramatic, or why you're being so stoic, or why you're being so aggressive, or why you're being so calm, then even though I get your point, usually we don't feel like we've been seen and heard, because it's like, but you got to understand how I feel.
Right. It's easy to understand an opinion and not understand the extent of it, because you miss the perspective.
Right.
If you understand a person's perspective, you understand how they see it and how they draw a line from themselves to the conclusions that they've made. You can better understand how long that line is.
Right.
So
you understand the person when you understand the perspective.
Well, yeah, and if anybody's having a hard time keeping up with it, like the way I'm thinking about this, it's the difference in the way you regard something versus your judgment about something.
Very much so. And it's not even
I'm
sorry, it's not even just how you regard it, it's truly how you see it.
Give an example. Nikki, you have an example?
Well, you have more perspective. I mean, take a bad marriage.
Okay.
People in the marriage, and I shouldn't say a bad marriage, people going through their trials within a bad marriage. You have perspective, I would say more perspective than others outside of your marriage as to why things are happening. Right? Others on the outside have more of an opinion and can be, I'm not going to say they're judgy, but judgment based because of how they feel about what's happening to you, because what they see what's happening to you. But you, the couple that's in the relationship, have a lot more perspective because there's history, there's other things that y'all have experienced. You can tell the story where others only know pieces and parts of the, the circumstance.
Absolutely. And when it comes to that interpersonal relationship and the communication within it, the outside world has to really be cut off, whether it's perspective or opinion. If you're going to get into the real heart and the real perspective and understanding of someone else, it has to be devoid of what other people think, even me. And honestly, to get to an example of something that happens a lot, let's just take something that is a universal problem for couples. Here we go. A man comes home and he plays video games. Now, he works hard, 8 hours a day, does what he does for the family, takes care of the kids. But when the kids go to bed, he wants to play a game for like an hour.
Okay.
Good hour, maybe 2 hours if he's got his boys with him. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Okay. The wife looks at this like, this is time you could be spending with me. Her perspective is, this is time you could be spending with me. Now, her opinion might be, you don't think of me enough. You think of this more. You want to be with your boys more. Her perspective is, you're choosing this time to be with this video game instead of me. The perspective.
Well, actually, her perspective is that you're prioritizing that video game.
That's a bit more of an opinion, because it has to be her speculation in the eye.
So in this situation, what does the man want?
Every individual is different, but asking him specifically why he does what he does is giving him room to do it without giving an opinion. The difference, Nikki, in what you did was you've already made an assumption that he is choosing something over you. His perspective might be, oh, I didn't even consider it. You were thinking about this because Todd and Doug, that's the only time they can get on.
And that was the one thing I was going to bring up. So to me, when you talk about perspective versus opinion, you're really talking about, like, I mean, what men want. It's like, what we need, I would say, is better communication. Right? Because that's a lot of thinking, If
I was gonna break it down to what men and women need, if I was gonna do that podcast, it would be all about communication.
Right.
Well, I'm just saying, like, to care about, like, to really think about the topic, what men want. If I'm attending, right, and want to listen in, I'm listening in because I want to understand better, right? But that's a lot of thinking if you're constantly challenging your thoughts as to whether or not it's truly perspective versus opinion. And I'm just talking out loud. Like, I'm just thinking, like, I want to get something out of it, right? I want to learn something. I want to be able to communicate better, like with my husband or any male person in my life, the people I work with. So for me, I'm thinking, okay, how do I, how do I address this? Because we don't necessarily operate to have to think like that on a continual basis. Right. And I don't think it's just men and women. I think it's relationships, right? Like, just in general, you could apply it. So that's why I made that comment, just looking for ways that,
some tools.
Like a practice, like, how do you challenge yourself on a continual basis to not just be, living in your opinion versus perspective, having better perspective of the situation. And honestly, when you gave that situation, my immediate thought was, well, he just wants to have some time to relax, right? That was my real immediate thought, right? But when you think about it, there are those that would interpret it differently immediately. And with that comes, for me, it's like, so how do you step yourself out of that space? Because that's where relationships between men and women break down.
What I heard, what I heard Chris say, though, I heard him say, ask.
I was just about to go there.
him say ask. I heard him say that from perspective of, we're speculating. Oh, he's prioritizing that over that. I heard him say, ask me.
Yeah, no,
Ask me.
I heard that. And
That's what I
honestly,
heard.
that is a good and a normal reaction. Like, I'm just speaking personally, but I know my husband doesn't want to be asked all the time. It's like, why are you asking me? Like, I'm just playing a game or I'm just doing whatever. Like, why?
And I have a different perspective on that. And Chris, I'm so glad that you said that, because my husband and I had I forget what the situation was, but I was speaking to him about it, and I'm giving him chapter and verse of what I saw, right? And he listened to me, and then he said, but you never even asked me why my response was that way, right? And from what I saw was very valid to me. So him saying you didn't ask didn't invalidate what I saw, but it was in response to something that I witnessed him do. And I realized that in that moment, I didn't ask him. Like, had I asked him first and then we had the conversation, different dynamic, right? And I do think it's about, and we can put our toe in this water if we want to. But I have a son, right? And there's a lot. I come from a family of a lot of women. So my first cousin was the first boy in like 8 girls. So he was like the first boy family member that I was close to. And we have a whole lot of girls after that, and then some more boys. So I don't really know men like that. I never lived with anyone before I met my husband. So I never, had a community of men. I don't have, close male friends and stuff like that. So my husband is actually the first man that I've known like that way, like, in those nuanced ways that, and so when you have a family full of women and lots of female friends, and I have beautiful female friends, women talk, and I say this all the time, women talk to other women about this stuff. Like, I don't have like my favorite guy friends say, hey, what's going on with this? What does this mean? So I'm learning this with him, right? And what I realized, and again, I'm sure this is biological somewhere, women are very like talk, it's proven, right? Boys and girls is very, very, very different. And now I'm seeing a lot of those differences with my son. When I was sometimes even, rearing a male child, like there's certain assumptions that I have. And I was like, wow. And my husband will say, well, did you ask him? I'm like, I ain't got to ask him nothing. You need to what I'm asking him for. Where they do that at? Get to this garbage is what you need to do, right? But it is about asking what's happening. To your point, Nikki, I mean, it might be the situation like, the people don't like to be asked, but I think it's something from a very human
Sometimes
level.
they don't know. You ask them and they don't know.
This is what I'm saying. But that's fair too. That's fair too, because the person playing the video games, my perspective is like, what the hell are you doing? That's dumb. But I know people that play video games that it's everything. It's strategy. It's movement. It's
escape.
It's escape. It's enjoyment. It's a way that I care for myself in this time, because this is something I truly want to do. So I think there's a lot of ways to really dig into this. But the first thing that I heard you say was something that my husband said to me. And I don't I don't feel like I'm a person that doesn't like ask. I feel like I'm a good
asker.
good in that. I'm a good asker.
Like,
but I do feel, he brought it to my attention that in that instance I didn't ask, and then it made me wonder, in what other instances
are you not asking?
Am I not asking?
Yeah, that's how.
If I could jump right there, there's so much, and Nikki and Crystal, I thank you both so much for those comments, because they're both so vital to exactly what I'm saying right now. The question of when to ask is kind of coming up right now. And I would say the time to ask is when you've already made an answer. And what I mean by that is, we talked about the video. We talked about the reasons why your man or the men you're dealing with are doing the things that they are. If your answer is an assumption, you haven't asked.
Right.
If you're
Back, Nicole, to what you said originally. What
Please.
thing?
Hold. I need to digest what you just said. Just 1 second.
Okay.
I get that.
I go
Repeat.
back.
Repeat.
Sorry.
He said, if your answer
Answer.
is an assumption,
You haven't
Then
asked.
you haven't asked.
it's a great point. That's a tool.
Yeah. And that leads me into exactly what I was going to say to Nicole. You asked very specifically, what are those things that we can do? What are those tools that we can use to be better listeners in the idea of perspective over opinion? And it's no mistake that I'm starting this podcast here. The first tool is exercising listening through perspective. So as you hear, Nikki, as you hear the first interviews, as you hear the first podcast that I come out, practice listening without an opinion. Hear the situations, hear the words, hear the emotion that the men that are going to be on my broadcast come with, and try to glean the good things you can from it, the vital information you can from it, without bringing in your opinion of how they are or what
Yeah.
they see. It's
Yeah.
an exercise that you get better at the more you do. So when you get into those interesting situations with the people closest to you, it'll become second nature.
You know, it's interesting because I have many male friends, many male friends, and I talk to 4 of them weekly, some of them daily, and I always ask them questions because I just want to know. There's women everywhere I turn, right? I feel like I know everything there is to know about women. We talk about things or ad nauseum. This whatever you want to know is out there, but it's interesting because I also recognize that. I mean, they're all better at it now, and they all have all of them are married, right?
Mhm.
Literally, when I ask questions, really simply because I'm curious, I don't have any skills and tools. Like I'm not doing something with an intention. I'm just asking, like I would ask my female friends questions. They're a lot of guys are even shocked at being asked.
Ask.
They're like, "Were you talking to me?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then it's like, oh, and then like my male friends, now we have this like flow conversation because they know I'm going to ask, and then they welcome the space to give an answer, but they don't really necessarily get that in their other relationships, especially their close ones with their mom or their sister. I have one friend who's like, his cousin is a female, she's like his sister, or their wives. There isn't a lot of asking going on, right? And that makes so much space for these assumptions that just take each person in the wrong direction in the relationship, like just in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
go ahead, Chris. Go ahead. No,
going to
I was
stay
gonna,
trapped. This
go ahead.
is one of those ones that I say for Nikki, and she goes, "Hold on a second, say that again. Hold on." So I never announced these, Nikki. So this is one that I gotta let you know. Here it comes. The trap, unfortunately, for a lot of women when it comes to dealing with men is the closer you are, the more you think you know.
Yeah, you don't know nothing.
The closer the women are to these men, the
The
less
more
they
they think they know, they're
the
assuming.
more they assume, the more they go on their own assumption, and the more they're challenged by anything that they see that is outside of their assumption.
That's a phenomenal point.
A woman close to a man, a spouse, a mother, a sister, will literally look at that man as if he's being brand new, different, just because he's trying to be what he feels like he thinks he's being.
It
It's
doesn't
not
fit
what
into
she
your
assumed.
assumption of who he is.
It's not her assumption. It's not what she thought. So what is this? This isn't what I think of you at all.
That's such a good point.
That's
That's
such a good point.
and it is
I
such
see,
an
I see, I see that in parenting too. I see
Mhm.
that. I see that in parenting.
For sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to go back. I don't know if this is Carrie. It's this Facebook user. It says some claim they don't want to talk, but they talk to their friends. I read that, and I'm understanding from what you're saying now. I'm asking a question.
Mhm.
Are they've made an assumption?
Mm-hmm.
Have they asked? Like this, like I'm reading that. Have they asked? Have they asked? Are you talking to your friends? Have they asked? Why are you talking to your friends? So my question is, when women have assumed that you rather talk to your friends than talk to them, let's just
Mm-hmm.
take the assumption out of it. When we
Mm-hmm.
see that you're talking to your friends and not talking to them,
To
Mm-hmm.
women.
why is that? Is it because of the
Okay.
ask? Is it because of the listen? That's my question.
Men talk to men for support.
Just
Mm.
like women.
Men talk to women for comfort. Men
Ooh.
talk to men for support.
And that's why
Men talk
sometimes they don't talk to you.
for comfort.
I mean, like, I hate to be on the opposite side of this, so I'm going to keep going
That's
there
a
because
good
I
point.
cannot be quiet on this. I do believe that you must ask, right? I'm totally in on that. But you can ask a man, and not all men are going to be responsive to that.
Very true.
And the truth is that men talk to men or they talk to other people because they can be and say whatever they want to do and be with that other person.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, some men are easy, like they might welcome the conversation. I mean, I look at some of the people I've met in your circle, Michelle. I totally understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other men, honestly, I'm not even going to say they don't want to talk to you. They just might not know the answer. And so, my point in this is that there's not one answer for all of this.
Mm-mm.
And I
Very-
think there are other things, right? Or other viewpoints that I'd love to even explore around that, because there are men who just they are not responsive to you asking. Actually, you can annoy them even more.
Well, I'll jump in. Praise the Lord, everybody. You know what? I definitely am that person that comes from men, family of men. My dad got brothers, my mama got brothers, I got brothers, like I have men around me. And a lot what I have experienced is a level of tonation and
Mm,
and how you actually speak to these
that's true.
men. um they don't want to feel interrogated.
That's true.
They don't want to feel like, especially I'll just speak of my brothers, because of the other men are my superior, and dad, grandfather, uncles, and
Elder.
stuff like that, so you already talk to them in a different way. But when I'm dealing with like my brothers, like y'all,
No, you're
we in
right.
the same peer group, it can feel like you're interrogating them when
Mhm.
you are asking
Right.
questions or trying to find out more about them. So then it leads us as the women to who grew up alongside with them to say, "Oh, no, my brother wouldn't do that." I just assume, because
Mhm.
I felt myself pulling back in times and just answering for my brothers, because I felt like
You knew them.
I knew them.
Mm.
Meanwhile, they were growing and maturing and, like, doing their own thing, and I wasn't allowing them to do that on their own account. I was like, I allowed them to mature for what I see. And,
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they may mature like 5 steps, and I only visually see the mature 2 steps. So I'm like, "Oh, no, they're not there yet. They're only here." So I would say, my perspective of the whole conversation is just really allowing men to have a different feeling than feeling interrogated or attacked when
They
you
do.
are
Mm-hmm.
asking them whatever question, because 9 times out of 10 they ain't even. My experience
Yeah.
with my brothers is, or even like my closest male friends, it is like they ain't even thinking about
Mm.
what.
And that's why I said sometimes they don't know the answer. So when you are having a
No. It's not that
conversation,
they don't know the answer. They're
well,
not
sometimes they
thinking of
don't.
that at
They're
all.
not. They're not thinking about that at all. All of the stuff that you saying, they were like, I wouldn't even.
They're like,
Yeah,
Let
that's
me
true.
jump.
Though.
what are you even
That is
talking
true.
about? I wanted to
Let's
go have a cigar. My closest,
that's true.
you guys met my brother. I call him my
Yeah.
brother like a
Uh-huh.
couple weeks ago. I mean, he would be like, I just needed a break. Instead of video games, he want to go smoke a cigar. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
and he may not even think in his mind, oh, it's bedtime for the kids. Let's go put the kids down. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. He's like, I need a cigar right now. So I'm going to go and have this cigar in this moment. He's not even thinking the trajectory of time. And so when you ask him in an interrogating way, like, yo, what are you doing? Like, why would
not
you?
even in an interrogating way, just when you ask, sometimes you're right. They look at you like, why are you asking me? I didn't think anything about this. So that goes back to the overall point I guess I was making. There's not one just reason or response to this.
Right.
Like there's so many different ways that men will respond. One is they're not even thinking about it. Like it made you raise an eyebrow, but it didn't for them.
Right.
Sometimes they don't really know. Like they know, like this is something maybe that needs to be talked about, but they don't know why. They don't have answers to tell you why. They may know inside, but not really fully committed to it to say that that's why. And then there's sometimes where you just simply should have asked because, like you said, you're just making an assumption.
Chris,
Perspective.
go ahead. Yeah.
Men and women, in order to communicate honestly, have to feel safe.
Yeah.
Correct.
And if a man doesn't feel safe, he's not going to answer you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Women are 100% prepared to operate in an unsafe environment.
That is true.
Right.
You do it all the time.
Men not operate emotionally in unsafe environments.
I agree.
We don't have the training, so we don't take on the endeavor.
Absolutely.
Right. No matter what you do.
One thing that very interesting, when you get to a question that you've asked over and over and over again, or maybe just over again, did you believe the answer?
No. That's why you ask again.
That you're asking again because the original answer given is unbelievable to you.
Or unsatisfactory.
It's his answer.
Exactly. Correct.
It's his answer.
Correct.
Okay, now
Hold on.
I'm only giving a little push.
I love it.
This is good. Let's go.
To understand, because I do this a lot. I do this in my relationship. I do this with friends and whatever. If I don't understand, like clearly, just like honestly, do not understand the answer that you've given me, and I ask you to give me another answer or be more clear with your answer to make me understand, what is a better way to ask that question? Because sometimes you don't, I don't understand what you meant by what the answer you just said. It makes
asking the same exact question is not the way to get clarity.
I can only imagine.
How do you ask? How do you ask? Y'all. I'm the most transparent person. Y'all know.
Let me say this.
Me and my wife fight about this all the time.
Okay, but listen. If you ask question A and you get answer A and you don't understand answer A, if you ask question A again, you're going to get answer A again. You have to ask a different question. So if I said, "What are you wearing?" and you're like, "Top, shoes, top, boots, and leather pants," and I don't understand that, I shouldn't say, "What are you wearing?" Because I'm going to say top, boots, and leather pants. What you want to do is ask a more clarifying question about the piece of that you don't understand. So, for example, if you don't understand any of those three pieces, you could be like, "Are you saying that you're wearing all of those things together?" Or you could be like, "Leather pants?" Right? Because you get the top and you get the boots, but you don't get the leather pants. But what we do is we just ask the same question again, thinking that that's going to trigger the person to reconstruct the answer.
I want to hear what Chris says. Chris, what do you think? You got all us five women up here. You got us all five women up here answering Chandra's question. What do you think? That's what I want to hear. What do you think?
First and foremost, I love the discourse. I love all of these things that are flying around, all of these thoughts and opinions and ideas. It's never that detailed with men.
Right.
It's never that detailed with men. And the further you allow your speculation to go, the more opinion you're inviting in for yourself. And the more negative energy is possible, because there's so much negativity that's possible that you're allowing in.
Yeah.
It's okay to not understand somebody. It's okay. But it's not an obligation for them to be more understanding.
See, Sharif just echoed me.
You cannot
Communication is a major key.
okay, but
Right.
don't blame them for your lack of understanding. Be okay not understanding until you do. That's less words, not
Or
more.
you won't.
Well, I also think you can't talk in generalities. I just don't think you can.
But you
Because
can.
I really
Because
think
people,
you can to some degree, Lachelle,
but people will. See,
but the comments that we're making, I think it just depends on the topic and the issue or the the situation you find yourself in. Like I think in general, I think the principles are right. Like I definitely believe you should always ask. I do believe, you have to watch your delivery, your tone. It has to be inviting. You can't make somebody feel like you're going to like attack them, condemn them. You got to give everybody a safe space to operate in a place of honesty.
yeah.
Right. But I'm just saying that, it's
I think
it's
I appreciate the general response though, and I have to tell you, because I think nobody can.
well, I'm not dismissing that.
Yeah, I just feel like I receive everything you're saying, because I think it's a light to how we communicate.
Yeah.
We communicate as if, but this is somewhat general. Like it's a generalization to think that all women communicate the same. That's not true either. But I certainly feel like I'm taking what you're saying and making it detailed for how I communicate, and
I
maybe
can
some things that
communicate.
I hear you completely, and some of it is like, yeah, I do that, and I got a check mark, and someone's like, well, maybe I don't do that, and I got to ask him.
Right.
I got to ask my son. Like sometimes my husband can see my son in a different way
For
because he
sure.
was a 16-year-old boy. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, well, guess what? I wasn't, and what's the answer? You know what I mean? Like I see myself in this. So I appreciate
Yeah.
hearing some of these things for me. It's helpful, very helpful. Yeah.
I want
I do
Chris to
too.
see. I want Chris to see what some of the people are saying. Like Keisha said, "Dear Lord, you are so correct, Chris. I've known my husband for 22 years, and I'm still learning things about him. And we were truly friends before marriage. In this phase of our relationship, I am looking at him with a softer lens. I was not raised to look at Black men in particular with the softer lens, so I had to learn this. Thank you, Keisha, for sharing that.
Keisha, you, on behalf of your husband, thank you. A
Thank you.
strong man that knows he has to be stronger every day doesn't have to go to bed with a cape on.
Right.
I
You know
love
what?
that.
Yes. Can I say this? Keisha's my sister, right? And I was thinking about what she said, just really popped something for me, because she and I have this discussion. And I know, so I grew up in a house, I had one man, my father, and then everything else was women, right? And then when I made a family, I was the only female and it was all men, right? It was my husband who was on here, Sharif, and then my two sons who are now men. And I have shared this with Keisha. There were so many things that Sharif, Tan, and Kassar, right, the men of the family I created, they do and say, and I don't know what in the hell, what? It makes zero sense to me. But, right, I also don't need to understand it all. As long as it's like they're not endangering themselves, right? Because I love them all, and they're not endangering me because I certainly love me. Then sometimes I don't understand. And I know I'm comfortable with it because my mother, with my kids, my son will do something or say something. And then my mother will be like, but why? But what? And I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, but aren't you going to find out? And I'm like, unless he knows and he wants me to know, but it's okay. Like, he shared it with me. I'm grateful for that. And he's going to go on and do what he's going to do.
That's
And
real.
we don't always have to understand it down to the
Right.
granular morsel. And I think for women, I don't know what it is, but there's this thing that is like, but wait, we want, clear this up. Now clear this up. Now clear this up. It's exhausting.
I'm
You know
an
what's
exhausting person.
You know, it's interesting. We talked about the need to do away with some of the universalities when we come into this conversation, but it's interesting. Some of them are worth keeping. And one of the ones that men have really learned to adopt in the last 10 to 15 years is stay out of women's business. There are things you understand. There are things you cannot add. There are things you cannot subtract. Don't jump in that forum. It's not for you.
Patrice says y'all pick too much.
Yes.
I have to tell you, Chris, one thing that like that really sits really well with me. You said, and I think it should be echoed. I don't see where Nikki put it in the chat. I strongly believe that strong men that know that they need to be stronger every day do not have to go to bed with a cape on.
That's so.
And I like that is my that's the way I live. That's the way I, what I believe. I just wanted to echo that. For me, I think that's part of it too. It's how you talked about Chandra, almost you didn't really talk about the space, but you talked about the tone, right? And for me, that's really important. Not that it fixes everything to, make people feel totally safe and comfortable and welcoming, but I live by that. Like I never heard it put that way, but that is how I feel because I don't live with the expectation, whether it's a man or anybody else in my life. I don't live by walking with expectations of you and how you have to live up to me. I just want you to be real and honest. And that's why, like figuring out your way of communication. Like I had to laugh when Chandra was speaking. Honestly, I think I even said it out loud. Like you're such a woman, right? Like we do want more details. We like, let me get this right. Is this what you're like? Was it, like get all those details? But honestly, that was really a powerful statement that I just wanted to like echo because I think that's really important for women, to help themselves create that safe space.
If I could say one, because Nikki, I want to take this next, but I have to be honest and let this wonderful, beautiful panel of women know the vast majority of Black men are terrified to take off their cape.
Yeah, no, it's true.
I agree. I agree with you 100%.
They think you look down on them for that. Yeah.
My next question is why? Why are they? Why?
Because it's interesting. We're these warriors in our minds, right? And a young man is a warrior, and the destination is a king. You want to be a king. The difference between a king and a warrior: when a warrior loses battles, he's not a warrior anymore.
Right.
When a warrior fails, he loses his opportunity to be a warrior. A king can fail and still retain his kingdom.
Ooh, that was hot.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's very true.
Fail and lose status at every.
Or they believe that, well, they do, but I'm saying from a man's perspective, they believe they do.
Right. So a man wishes to graduate from warrior when he's fought enough battles to gain the position in his family, his woman of king.
That's right.
Now I can lead and don't have to worry about failing.
That's right.
Because I'll always be king.
That's right.
Wow.
That is so right. That is so right.
Wow.
That just gave me chills. That just gave me chills because that's a different knowing that or moving through that makes you move. It makes you move differently when having conversations with men, with raising men, with dealing with men. Period, point blank. It just makes you move a little bit different because of those two
Again, you're talking in my language. Like I totally, like I'm connected to what you're saying. Like I know this, I walk this, I live this.
Yeah.
The issue that I struggle with is you can't do that. You can't help men maintain that feeling.
I think
Um,
you can.
I think you can contribute to it, but honestly, I'm gonna tell you just from, like I don't think you can do your best. That man has to realize they have to realize that they maintain that position. Like I don't know if I'm saying this right. You
I think
can't
it's
do that
environment. I
to
think
somebody.
it's environment. I feel like, I'll use my parents as an example. My parents were together for 35, 38 years or something like that. And my dad's safety with my mom was compromised multiple times in that. When they split up, my dad remarried, I visually can see his safety with his wife now.
Mhm.
And that allows him to be more communicative, more open, more true to
I
himself.
wonder what was the difference? Was it just a different person?
No, the difference was the way my mother treated him. Like, I don't want to. I'm not putting words in my mama's mouth, but it seemed like my mother was like, "You are the protector. You keep this cape on." Every, that type of feeling.
Yeah.
In that in their relationship, and in
Mm,
this relationship, it's like, "Okay, honey, go to bed. Take it off."
mm.
Like I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
see
no,
I
I
can see
agree.
that difference, in how he acts and reacts in
Yeah.
situations. The
Mhm.
same the way and what really brings into perspective is that my nephew is living with my dad right now, so he's got a teenager back in his house, after all these years of having a teenager. And the way that my dad deals with my nephew, dealing with the same things that he did with his kids, at that age, is totally different. When he has a perspective of, I'm a king, and I know at the end of the night I'm still the king of this house, versus I'm a warrior, and if I lose this fight, we all lose.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
Powerful.
Wow.
it's I know we're coming up to an end and we're a little over, but I think there's I love that you hit that warrior king again, Shawnee, because Chris, that's still resonating with
That
me.
put this whole conversation into perspective
It
for me.
just perspective versus opinion, it really did. And I we could go a whole nother 30 minutes, but I really think this is a great place to start to round up and to get people to get to your podcast that drops on Thursday.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just
Congratulations and
just
thanks.
just from the for us to understand that whole warrior king mechanism, I do, I'm pointing out some of the men that said something. Christian talked about vulnerability in here, and I know you and I have talked about that, Chris, and we talked about listening. I think these are all important. Everything we've said is so important for us as women, and also as men to continue to talk about, to understand. Because I can tell you this from a woman's perspective as we wrap up, I do hear a lot about what women want and what we need and where we're going. And it was you and another good friend of mine that really slowed me down to really go, what do men want? I'm y'all know I'm going through a breakup, and I had to admit, was I asking questions? Was I listening? Was I, making him feel like he had to keep, no, I ain't do that. Let him take his cape off. I'm gonna say that right now. you know, I ain't gonna put that on. But I really, some of the things that you're saying, I have to really say to myself, was I asking, or was I asking the same question the same way? And you know, was did I think I was providing a place of vulnerability and not tapping into what his space of vulnerability was? So whereas I just think this is such a great conversation. And as we wrap up, I want you to say that warrior king one more time. Can we just end on that? Can you say that one more time as we go, and I get everyone to tap into how to find you and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, ladies first, before I tear back into this. This has been amazing and such a great introduction into all of the things that I feel like this podcast is important for. But to answer Nikki's question and to address the men and women that are watching, your men are warriors. They go to bat for you every day, whether it's on a personal battlefield or a battlefield that you actually see in front of you. They are fighting for you every day. They deserve, they want, and they're yearning for a place and a time when they can take that cape off, when they can take that armor off and just be a man and be safe to be that man. When a warrior fails, when a warrior loses battles, he loses his position as a warrior. That's an incredible pressure. That's a pressure every day. So every man that's a warrior yearns to be a king. Kings don't lose their position, not because of a mistake. Kings don't lose their position, not because they've taken a misstep or their judgment or their leadership has been off once. They keep that position. And that's why we all strive for it. But the real importance of why king is important is it takes a king to raise the next generation. Warriors can do it, but they don't do it well enough. And they don't inspire the next generation to want to be kings. You women deserve kings. You're queens. You deserve kings. The warriors around you are desperate to be there. Do they have the safety it takes?
There you go.
Ooh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. You can follow Chris on Instagram at Christopher L. Morgan. His What Men Want podcast is dropping on Thursday. He will have all the information. We will send you guys, everyone, information about Chris's podcast as well as I want to shout out our to the Red Sea people. Let me stop. I want to shout out Damar and Krista as well. We're going to send out information about their YouTube page as well. But again, Chris, this has been great. I'm excited to see where this goes. I know it's going to be great for so many people. Is there anything you want to say? One more thing before we leave.
I want to say, y'all keep going. I want to say kudos to the Ladies First Chit-Chat crew for all that you're doing, for the voices that you're embodying, for the fact that you won't let Black women be a monolith, and you're showing the diversity and the complexity that is Black women today. Keep going. Y'all are beautiful, and I can't wait to see you grow.
Thanks, Chris.
Have me back. We can talk.
We will.
We'll have you back. I got to shout you out. You know, your mama Pat said that was beautiful, Chris.
I love you, mama.
Chris, thank you so much, babe. Stay on. We're going to wrap up. I thank you. Stay on. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you when we get off, okay? Again, y'all, follow Christopher at IG at Christopher L. Morgan, What Men Want podcast. We will have all the information for you. And also, we want you to continue to follow us. We're going to have guests on. We got some big things coming that we're hoping we'll be able to talk about soon. Remember to follow us at the Ladies First Chit-Chat Crew.com. IG at the Ladies First Chit-Chat Crew. On Facebook, we're the Ladies First Chit-Chat Crew. And subscribe to our YouTube page. Everybody. And keep following us. We're going to keep having these juicy conversations. And also, you get to see not only collectively what we're doing as the Ladies First Chit-Chat Crew, but Lachelle, Chandra, Crystal, and Nikki on Boss. And Nikki got some big things coming up, too, that you guys will love and get involved with. Ladies. Nikki on Boss. Guess what? Wait.
That's Tayana.
Thank you.
Before we wrap up,
appreciate it.
Is there anything y'all want to say? I think this is great. I feel like
It was wonderful.
Yeah, that Chris said it all. See
That
y'all
was
next
wonderful.
That was it.
Well, y'all, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you for
Chris.
tuning in, everybody. We will have a recap. We
We'll
love
see you next
y'all. Yes, have an amazing Saturday. And we'll see y'all next week, y'all.
Bye.
what you want. Unbossed, speak what you want. Unbossed. And we're up first. Unapologetically great. Unapologetically great. Unapologetically great. And we're up first. Yes, ladies. That's dope. Yes, ladies. That's dope. Yes, ladies. That's dope. And we're up first. It's time for the ladies. It's the ladies first Chit-Chat crew. Time for the ladies. It's the ladies first Chit-Chat crew. One time for the ladies in the house. Two time make the people scream and shout. Lachelle, Chandra, Crystal with Nikki on boss and Nikki. And we're up first. And we're up first.
Bye, y'all. See you
Night.
next